And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Roberto H. Medel, who writes, some days ago on Comic-Con at Home, Robert Kirkman teased the Invincible movie, live-action movie. Apparently, it was announced years ago, but nobody noticed until now. He said it would be very different from the series, but how do you think the success of the series will affect the production of this movie? Also, I would think a streaming series format is very suited for the gore and themes of the material. Do you think that those changes will go in that route? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, one of my big pleasant surprises in entertainment this past year has been Invincible. Now, look, I'm not going to lie. I don't think the animation style is very good. To be frank, I don't think the animation style is all that good at all. But it works just fine for the story, and it's the story. It blew me away right from episode 1, and then the ending of episode 1 with the massacre. It's just, what the hell? It reminded me a lot of the ending of the first episode of Milo Ventimiglia's Heroes. And the end of that first episode is like, that's it. First episode, I'm hooked. And the ending of that first episode of Invincible was incredible. You got the incredible voices going on in it as well. Just a terrific voice cast. I just love this show. How do you do a live action movie version of it? That's very challenging. But anyway, this comes to us from Robert Kirkman himself, who talked about this at Comic-Con at Home in a streaming event. He says, when asked about how would this live action movie that they're trying to get going differ from the animation, he said, I'm not telling. This is another one of those things that's a little early going, but I will say that there are massive efforts going into making sure that the film experience is unique and separate from the animated series, while also being true to Invincible. I couldn't be more excited about the stuff that we are doing, but I can't tell you yet. So that comes to us from the creator, of course, Robert Kirkman. This is interesting because, Rob, when you do look at Invincible, when you look at this material and you think about how on earth do you make this live action and how do you bring that visceralness? But look, at the same time, when a lot of people talk about Invincible, one of the first things they talk about is the gore and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, to me, that's not what makes the show great. It certainly makes it a very visceral experience, but it's not what makes a show great. It's great characters. It's great story. Like, I found myself on the edge of my seat for episode after episode going, why is Omni-Man doing this? What's going on? Why did, I found myself on the edge of my seat a lot. It's the story. It's the narrative. That's what makes it great. It makes it in with that visceral violence is also really cool too. So I will just say this. I don't know how you do a live action Invincible. I don't know how you do it. But I am also very intrigued and interested to see what they do if they do it. Rob, let me ask you. What do you think about the idea of a live action Invincible? Is it something that they should just say, listen, it works great in the animated form, we should leave it as that? Or are you thinking, are you kidding me? This is a potential gold mine. And then how do you pull it off in a live action way? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think, look, we have other things that we can look to, whether it's the Umbrella Academy, The Boys, and now James Gunn's Suicide Squad. You can certainly duplicate the tone. The violence is not a problem. I think it's like any other live action movie. You have to have great actors cast in the roles, and you have to have a great script and a great director. And I think that certainly The Boys has not shied away from any kind of graphic violence from the opening of the episode. Of the first episode, anything goes in that show. And I think with Invincible, it really comes down to anything else. Any other fantasy science fiction show, you have to ground it in some kind of reality. And Invincible certainly does that. And it plays with previously existing superhero tropes. And I think all you have to do is turn it into a great movie.
It's just that simple.
Look, as I've always said, part of making movies is alchemy. It's Rumpelstiltskin spinning straw into gold. And there's always an element of that. There's always an element of magic or alchemy in movie making. That is that undefined magical pixie dust. And definitely Invincible is going to need that, because I think what's really hard to do is the tone.
Yeah.
You know, it's really difficult jumping around, and Invincible, the most important thing is to set that tone. So when things get too crazy, it doesn't spin off into oblivion where you can't pull it back. I mean, I think a movie like Chronicle, the first thing I thought about when I think about Invincible is I go back to Chronicle and how Chronicle was done. And there was, as I like to say, verisimilitude. And they did a really good job. If I was going to do an Invincible movie, I would look to Chronicle.
Yeah, Chronicle is actually a really great example. I like that comparison a lot. Kimberly, what do you think about the possibility? Is the idea of a live action Invincible movie appealing to you? Do you think they should just leave it where it is? What are the challenges you see? What's your reaction to this?
Oh, go for it. Because if you think about it, Batman the Animated Series has been on since the early 90s. And how many different iterations have we seen with different directors that took really interesting points of view and tones with the property and brought us something that we loved? From Tim Burton all the way up until Christopher Nolan. And you still, mind you, it's not the same exact audience, but I don't think it undermines the animation that's out there, because the animation has its tone that it's set and it's being respectful to the story. But I think we've seen this with Batman. You can totally do something different with the film while honoring the story and honoring the characters that we love. So I say go for it. And I say, the show is so much deeper than just the violence. I know that I'm very squeamish, so it was really hard. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Oh God, I can't. I'm gonna pass out. I can't do gore very well, but I feel like, you know what? After seeing The Boys, and it's so funny. I know Jupiter's Legacy didn't take off. I wish it did. But Josh Duhamel with the gray hair, he was reminding me of he got me thinking oh, what would a live action Omni-Man look like? And just his vibe with his costume and his hair got me thinking about what they could do with it. And so I say go for it. And honestly, I think it'll be really well, because they did such a good job with the animation. So do it, man.
Omni-Man was voiced by J.K. Simmons. And after you watch Tomorrow War and you see J.K. Simmons jacked, it's like your first thought is just get J.K. Simmons to play Omni-Man. But in reality, J.K. Simmons is probably about 1.5 feet too short to play Omni-Man. You'd probably have to get some tall guy or whatever. But hey, I'm down. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the notion of a live action Invincible? Do you think it could play out well in a movie format? Do you think they could translate that feel and that DNA into a live action environment? Do you think they should just leave it as the animated thing? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.